For more on the dispute between President-elect Trump and Representative Lewis is Trump National Diversity Coalition member, Pastor Darrell Scott. He joins me now from Cleveland. Pastor, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, do you think it's appropriate for Mr. Trump to be calling out members of Congress on Twitter?
Well, I think that was Mr. Trump's method of response of choice. That he was initially called out by John Lewis. Out of the blue, John Lewis called him out and said he was an illegitimate president, and he chose to respond via Twitter. He was unfiltered in his response, and that was the response he chose to make. I don't have a problem with it, and I really believe the majority of America doesn't have a problem with it as well. The thing I do have a problem with, however, is that his response was treated as an attack. And I don't think a response is an attack. I think a response is just that. It's a response. He responded to an attack by John Lewis.
I do want to ask you about one part of that response, Pastor. Mr. Trump said that Congressman Lewis should, quote, focus on the burning and crime-infested inner cities in the United States. But the district that he represents, as you well know, includes some pretty affluent parts. What do you think that Mr. Trump meant by that?
Well, you know, the district that he represents does include some affluent parts, but it has some disenfranchised parts as well. And if I'm not mistaken, his average is above the crime average is above the average for his district is above the average of the rest of the city and the state. And so what he was doing was Mr. Trump was speaking in present tense terms. And they try to take it as if when he said John Lewis is all talk and no action, as if he's talking about the entirety of his life. And he's not talking about 50 years ago. He's talking about right now. And what he was saying was you have more problems to focus on and concentrate in your own constituency rather than to attack the legitimacy of my presidency.
Well, after Mr. Trump's tweets at Representative Lewis, he tweeted again Sunday saying, for many years our country has been divided, angry, and untrusting, but that will change. I wonder how you think that he's ushering in unity by going after members of Congress on social media.
First of all, once again, I don't think he went after John Lewis. I think he responded to John Lewis having gone after him. Now, I've known Mr. Trump for quite some time. I'm the CEO of the National Diversity Coalition that I founded with Michael Cohen, who's the special counsel to Mr. Donald Trump and executive vice president of the Trump Organization. We founded the Diversity Coalition, and it includes just about every ethnic group in America that you can think of. Mr. Trump has been endeavoring to make inroads into minority communities. Now, here's what I find interesting. I've heard the critics complain about the lack of African Americans in Mr. Trump's cabinet. However, if any African American tried to engage in Mr. Trump's campaign, like myself, we were accused of being Uncle Toms, coons, sellouts, race traitors. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, this dynamic here that you're saying do not engage with him, don't talk to him, have nothing to do with him. However, he should have us as part of his cabinet. He's tried from the very outset of the campaign to engage with the African American community, and by and large, the African American community is rejecting him and has rejected him. And for those of us that do engage, you know, they reject us as well. But we're going to turn that corner. We're going to build that bridge. We don't need Congressman John Lewis or any other black elected officials telling the black community to have nothing to do with our president. He's our president, whether they like it or not. We're going to have to get along for the next 4 years. Steve Harvey went up and met with him, and he was being crucified over the weekend simply for having a meeting with him about the conditions in certain parts of Chicago. And so this has to stop, and we don't need, you know, Congressman John Lewis or any other elected officials point gasoline on this fire by saying have nothing to do with him and fueling this racial divide and making it worse, fueling this division in our nation.
Pastor, dozens of House Democrats are planning on skipping the inauguration because some of them, because of Mr. Trump's comments to Congressman Lewis. You just outlined the goals of your diversity coalition. I wonder how it is that you bridge that divide in your new role. How do you and your fellow members of the diversity coalition plan on reaching out to those very people that use the offensive terms that you just spelled out, that hold the position, that you just spelled out?
Well, first of all, once again, we've been engaged with Mr. Trump. I've been with him from the very beginning. In fact, he considered running for president in 2012, and I was with him then. We're going to go forward, and you know, the proof is in the pudding. We're going to demonstrate to America. We have some major initiatives. He's already engaged with the MLK program with football legend Jim Brown, Ray Lewis, and others. And this is a very community-oriented activity that they have, where it deals with empowerment, entrepreneurship, quenching violence and gangs and a lot of different initiatives that are germane to the African American community. And we've already engaged with the American. We're working hand in hand with them. But we also have some other major developments that will be announced very, very soon about housing in the inner cities, about inner city revitalization, about our crumbling infrastructure, about entrepreneurship in the African American community. Believe me, the African American community is going to look back 4 years from now and say, we don't know why we fought him the way we did, because he's been a great president for us.
Pastor Darrell Scott in Cleveland. Pastor Scott, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. God bless you.